speak, and that way we can avoid any feedback. And good morning to all. My name is Dennis Walcott, and I have the honor of being called the chair, but just really one of the members of our illustrious 15-member commission group. And I must say that folks have worked extremely hard, and I want to say a big thank you to all our commissioners, our staff, but also, I'm not sure if I did it the last time, to our family members as well, because we have put countless hours into these discussions, our public meetings. And I want to read, pursuant to the mayor's executive emergency order, which is still in place regarding COVID-19 for the city of New York. We are convening the meeting virtually, and the public can attend and view this meeting live as it is streaming on your YouTube channel, which is posted on the commission's website. So now I think we have the easy task, I think, in front of us. If I can have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of September 22nd. Move second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions to the minutes? Again, thanks. I just want to deal with one factoid because I want to be always respectful to our commission members who have other scheduled conflicts. And I know at least one person in particular is due in court for a trial. So not that the person is due in court because of that, because the person is litigating in this trial. I want to try to be as quick and efficient as possible. But I want to say one number that I think is an extremely important number, and that number is 77 hours. 77 hours have been devoted to mapping alone. That does not include all the public meetings, like when we met to 12:30 in the morning in one borough, we met to 10:15 in another borough. We had to add on an additional session virtually to accommodate another borough. So 77 hours, including last week, obviously, which people were able to see, roughly 8 hours of additional mapping on top of that, 5 on Friday and approximately 3 on Thursday. Being respectful to the questions that commission members had and making sure we try to address them. And so I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for, I think, your definite commitment to the city of New York, but more importantly, the amount of detail and attention you have paid to the variety of issues. And I think, as some of us have said before, that while there may be issues still out there, I think for me personally, it's time for us to take that next step to submit to the city council. And we'll discuss that in a little while because the city council has a 3-week window to review the maps that we submit. And then if they have questions or additional recommendations, then part of the process is for them to send it back to us. And then we'll convene additional public meetings and sit down and respond to that. So, I think we've done a really excellent job in the amount of time we've both devoted to the mapping, but also I think the respect that we've shown each other as commissioners in trying to make sure the various issues have been addressed to the best of our ability. And with that being said, I really want to follow the agenda so I don't hold any of the commissioners up who have other obligations as well, and really go to our well, first we got to do a roll call. So my bad. We got to do a roll call. So Joseph, if you can do the roll call for us so we can have our official attendance taken, and then we'll go to our executive director. Joseph?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. So starting with you, Mr. Chairman, Dennis Walcott.
I am here, sir.
Yvonne Collado.
Here.
Marilyn Go.
Here.
Kevin Hanratty.
Here.
Maria Mateo.
Here.
Joshua Schneps.
Here.
Lisa Soren.
Present.
Monsignor Kevin Sullivan.
Present.
Kai Ki Wong.
Here.
Maf Uden.
Moff is here.
Present, yeah, because I was muted.
Michael Schnall.
Here.
Kristen Johnson.
Here.
Gregory Kirschenbaum.
Here.
Mark Roselle.
Present.
Darren Porcher. And that concludes the roll call, Chair.
Thank you, Joseph. Much appreciated. And with that being said, our executive director, Dr. John Flateau. And thank you, John, and to the staff for all of your great work over the last number of months. John, floor is yours. John, if you're talking.
Chairman,
There you go.
thank you, Chairman Walcott and Commissioners. At the September 22nd public meeting, I presented a district-by-district summary of the proposed revised plan and changes to the July 15 preliminary plan. That revised plan was not submitted to the council at this time. The commission reconvened in public mapping sessions on September 29th and 30th to consider additional revisions based on commissioner comments and public testimony. Modest changes have now been made to the proposed plan, previous plan, and I will now highlight some of the changes that were made to the previous plan. These additional adjustments were made in context of the criteria that govern the redistricting process, our city charter, Federal Voting Rights Act, and a new 5% state law population deviation requirement. I am now going to go through each of the boroughs and touch on those districts where changes were made, starting with Manhattan. Council District 1, the commission received testimony regarding Vladeck houses, and as a result of that testimony, Vladeck houses are now in District 1. Council District 2, there were some minor boundary changes to address commissioner concerns to solidify Hispanic representation in Council District 2. Council District 3. District 3 was overpopulated by nearly 30,000 people, and testimony residents requested that Hell's Kitchen be contained wholly within District 3, which is now proposed. Council District 6. The northern boundary of District 6 is now West 96th Street from Riverside Drive to the West End Avenue, and it also includes Columbus Circle. District 7. District 7 was underpopulated by over 7,000 persons. Concerns about Hispanic population and public testimony also, and main border on the northern side up to 165th Street, as well as on the west side, Broadway, over to Fort Washington Avenue. So those boundary adjustments have been made to solidify Hispanic populations within District 17. Moving on to the Bronx. Based on public testimony, District 15, now all of Crotona Park and a one-block boundary of going around the entire park is now in District 15, and we also unite Twin Park houses.
Okay. I think Maria was just in background more than anything else.
Oh, okay. Also united our Twin Park houses development into this council district. And finally, in the Bronx, Council District 17, this had a small impact on District 17. Near an adjustment was made with respect to West Farms portion, east portion that is now in District 15. Moving on to Queens, District 23. Fresh Meadows is now in District 24 and exchanged some population with the adjacent District 23 with a higher Asian population boundary as well in District 13 along the Jamaica Avenue and Hillside Avenue corridor. Council District 24, Council District 24 in Queens. Hillcrest and Fresh Meadows are also remaining intact inside of District 24. Moving on to Brooklyn, Council District 33. There was testimony where the Jewish community in northern Brooklyn, Williamsburg area requested that Broadway Triangle should be retained in District 33. And this has been done in the proposed map. Council District 14. Council District 44. District 44 consists of now Borough Park, Mapleton, and parts of Midwood and Gravesend. These district neighborhoods have been adjusted slightly to achieve the required population deviation necessary for District 44. Council District 47. It consists of Bay Ridge, parts of Dyker Heights, Bath Beach, Gravesend, Coney Island, and Seagate. The shape of this district results from the creation of a new District 43 with a new Asian American population voting rights district, which is adjacent to 47 and other districts in that area. There is a small corridor that now connects, runs through Bath Beach and Dyker Heights to connect to Bay Ridge to balance out the total population for District 47. District 48 consists of Manhattan Beach, Brighton Beach, Sheepshead Bay, and Midwood. This district was previously overpopulated by nearly 8,000 persons. It now contains Homecrest and Midwood and Warbass development. The entire Warbass development contains in District 48. Going to Staten Island, District 49. Testimony was given for a request to maintain that District 49, the North Shore District, intact and to keep it, retain its diversity in that particular district, 49, and as well, Todd Hill houses have been added into 49. District 50. It was underpopulated. This is the Mid-Island District, nearly 8,000. The commission decided to keep 49 and 51 wholly on Staten Island and to map District 50 as a cross-borough district going to Brooklyn. The shape of that crossover was slightly changed in the revised plan. It now crosses over into Brooklyn and includes Fort Hamilton Army Base, the VA Hospital, Dyker Beach Park, Poly Prep Day School, and a small part of Bath Beach and Dyker Heights. This mapping mirrors the former crossover city council district of this Mid-Island district in the 2002 redistricting cycle, and it also mirrors the current congressional 11 that is currently mapped. This concludes my report on these proposed changes to the current maps that you, the commissioners, now have. And moving on to the next segment, if I could, Chair. Now I will present Dr. Lisa Hanley, a nationally renowned social scientist with experience in redistricting voting rights, and she has advised a number of commissions on racial block voting, as well as our own commission. And she will now give a report, an updated report on the current October 6th proposed revised plan, which you now have before you. Dr. Hanley?
Here I am. Because the newly revised plan doesn't make many changes to the districts with significant minority populations, and I've already given you an overview of how I do my Voting Rights Act assessment, I'm going to just have some brief comments here. I'm not going to present a PowerPoint because you should already have a memo that gives you the information that I have made my evaluation on. What I want to do instead in just a couple minutes is go through and note the districts that have changed as a result of the drawing over the last 2 weeks. In Manhattan, there was no change to majority Black District 9 or to majority Hispanic District 8. There was only a slight change to District 10, and that was to increase the Hispanic voting age population from 64.15 to 64.21. Obviously, this does not impact the ability of Hispanics to elect their candidates of choice in that district. District 7 also changed slightly. This district was 32.8% Hispanic in the previous plan considered in the September 22nd meeting. It has been revised to increase the Hispanic percentage. It is now 33.4%. And as you would have discovered in attempting to increase the Hispanic percentage in that district, it can't go much higher than that without impacting the neighboring minority opportunity districts. And furthermore, that district, the voting was not polarized in the last election. So I don't anticipate the Hispanic preferred Hispanic candidate losing in the next election. In the Bronx, District 12, the one majority Black district did not change. There are 5 majority Hispanic districts and 2 additional plurality districts. 3 of those changed from the previous plan considered on the 22nd. District 15, the Hispanic voting age population increased slightly, as it did as well in 16. It decreased slightly, very slightly from 65.4 to 65.2 in District 17. I don't anticipate any of these changes impacting the ability of Hispanic voters to elect their candidates of choice, with the caveat that actually District 16 elects the Black preferred candidate to office. So you have the same number of Hispanic opportunity districts in the Bronx, only slight changes. In Queens, there are the 2 majority Black districts and the plurality Black district, that is districts 27, 31, and 28, don't change at all, and they remain Black opportunity districts. The same is true of the 1 majority Hispanic district, 21, it does not change, nor does the 1 majority Asian district, District 20. It does not change. It remains an Asian opportunity district. There are 4 plurality Asian districts in Queens. 2 of these were slightly revised in the drawings over the last 2 weeks, Districts 23 and 24. So the Asian voting age population in District 3 decreased slightly from 44.16 to 44.06 and increased slightly in District 24 from 37.7 to 37.8. Those minor changes made no impact on the ability of those districts to elect their candidates of choice. There was a lot of redrawing in Brooklyn, but in fact, very little of that impacted the districts with significant minority populations. There are 6 majority Black district opportunity districts in Brooklyn, 36, 40, 41, 42, 45, and 46. They all remained unchanged over the last 2 weeks. The same is true of the majority Hispanic district, District 37, and the majority Asian district, District 43. The only district that changed slightly was District 38. This plurality Asian district was redrawn in the last round to become a plurality Hispanic district with a Hispanic voting age population 35.23. It was increased slightly to 35.33. Staten Island, the Minority Opportunity District, District 49, changed slightly with an increase in Black, Hispanic, and Asian, a very, very slight increase in Black, Hispanic, and Asian voting age population for all three groups. And that district continues to be a minority opportunity district. In conclusion, my overall count is there are 29 minority opportunity districts in the plan under consideration now. This is an increase from the current plan. By current plan, I mean the 2013 plan of 28 districts. So you now have 29 districts when you had 28 districts in the current plan. And that is all I have to say, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hanley. And what I would like to do is open it up to the commissioners, either to Dr. Hanley or Dr. Flateau or any staff members. And also, again, being conscious of at least one, if not several commissioners having time schedules as well to adhere to.
I guess if I could say something more generally.
Sure, Josh, of course.
So I know that everybody wants to get this off to the city council. But obviously, I think all of us have seen a lot of feedback, particularly over the last week, from a lot of different districts. And I really would like to take this opportunity to have a motion to amend the maps today with really minor adjustments, particularly in Brooklyn, for the 47th and 48th districts.
That's your motion, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
there,
I think I'm support Commissioner Josh Schnapp for this motion.
so that's a second to the motion by Commissioner Schnapp and second by Commissioner Wong. Discussion?
Yeah, I also have the concern regarding the same thing that Josh mentioned, because since the public mapping sessions on 28 and 29, we did it public, and that is why I think the public opinion came after that. So I think this discussion, if that can answer some of those, and legally we are supposed to answer the, I don't know that about legal part. Grace might know that we must address those, or we can continue. I don't know.
Well, we have definitely taken the public testimony up until the 28th. We had processed the testimony up until the 28th in guiding our public testimony and discussion. So, you know, at a certain point, you know, we had to create the map in preparation for this meeting, and we have received additional, you know, public testimony after, but, you know, those can always also be revisited after this process, after this meeting as well.
So I want to be very clear around following Robert's rules, since we have a motion on the floor and a second, and now open it up for discussion. I would just like to weigh in on the discussion before we take a vote. And I want to be clear, Josh, you're asking to delay the vote again?
No, I think I hopefully it could be resolved today. I mean, it's largely in regards to districts 47 and 48. You know, honestly, I think the commission is made up of a lot of different members. I think there's a couple that have had much louder voices than others and have made certain changes recently. And there's been a lot of feedback on those changes that is, you know, not a big change, but I think something that can be done to hopefully, you know, square away what I think has been a lot of feedback.
So
Really is very
if I
specific
could,
to District 47 and 48.
So if I could inquire, are we suggesting a technical amendments to the plan so that it could go forward? Is that?
That's what ideally I would like. Yeah, I think everybody would like to move forward.
okay, so along that line, and I will again defer to Grace since we have a motion on the floor and a second. Do we first need to vote on the amendment? If so, I still want to have discussion if there is any other discussion around this amendment, because if it's important for us to have that type of discussion around the amendment itself first. My response would be we devoted a significant amount of time, as you know, on Thursday and Friday, even to the point of having a 5-hour meeting on Friday. And I remember closing the meeting on Friday if there are any other questions or suggestions. And if we continue to leave open the point of, okay, we've gotten additional testimony, we'll never draw this to a conclusion. And I think part of the process is that if there is consensus, again, separate and part of the motion that's on the floor, for us to move it to the city council, where the city council then has that responsibility for a 3-week period to review and then get back to us if they so desire with any additional questions or responses. Then it is our obligation at that particular point to discuss those particular points raised by the city council, and then also then reopen the public meeting portion of the discussion with the public in general. And while I've seen a lot of, and I want to say it properly and put it in the proper frame, a lot of depends on how you define a lot of, on the base of close to 12,000 or so responses that we've received since we've started this process. And it specifically has been around 2 districts. And, you know, I think it's important, though, that we really draw the point of saying it is time to move on. But again, we have had a motion and we've had a second on that motion, and I will throw it up to commissioners for any other additional debate around the motion. And if not, then we'll call for a vote on the motion itself. So Josh.
Mr. Chair. A point of clarity. Josh, is there specific things you want to include?
Yes.
The details.
Yes, the details is that the Warbass houses were split. That's a big, you know, it was moved and it was split. And I think we got a lot of, you know, testimony of people that were against it, didn't understand it. And honestly, I didn't the last time it was changed. So I think that is really, you know, a big part of what I would like to see have changed before we get to a vote.
So Josh, what are you recommending?
I'm recommending that it's whole. And
In
that's
which
all
district?
in 47.
What is 48? Yeah.
Hold on, no, now.
Because now it's split between 47 and
Now
48.
48. And so it's a 2-parter, basically. One, to make it whole, which I think we've addressed, and Dr. Flateau can take care of that part of the discussion. But then I think the other part of 48 to 47 raises a different dimension. But if that's part of your motion, then can I, and again, I may be out of the appropriate frame of Robert's rules. With that being said, as you well know, through all the mapping sessions we've had, if something was that simple, then it would be simple. But as indicated both on the deviation chart, the racial block voting analysis and all that, it plays a role. So do you have a follow-up to that, Josh, as far as how you move from one to the other and what the implications are from the other as far as where it falls within the deviation?
Well, I'd probably need the commission's support on it, you know, the staff there, but I think that if we were to, you know, go north a little bit up to, instead of Avenue N, Avenue M, that it can balance that off.
Mr. Chair, may I interject here for a moment?
I'm opening it up for discussion.
So when this issue came up on Friday and we moved the lines between 47 and 48 to include what now appears to be a portion of the Warbass houses in District 48, we then removed a small section of Midwood. And this all happened on Friday afternoon. I recommended that that change in Midwood to reunite a portion of the Midwood community with District 44, because that was something that was actively suggested by the Orthodox community in Midwood. So it was a clear 1-for-1 swap. I think Bryn and Fabian, if we want to bring them into this conversation to help us along in population, they seem to be an almost even population swap at the time. And so essentially what we would be doing, my suggestion is if this meets with the approval of the other commissioners, we could simply go back in time. This is back to the future. We simply just undo those adjustments that were made in Friday, those dominoes that were first set off by including Warbass, moving Warbass from 47 to 48. Now we move Warbass back into 47. The entire community is reunited. And then simply remove those blocks that I had recommended, simply because we had that opportunity present ourselves on Friday. That sliver of Midwood should go back into 48 to backfill the population.
I concur. Just for 1 second. I think what Mark defined, what we have done Friday, if we undo, I think it will not make any changes in population, that and deviation also will remain intact, because it was intact before for September 22nd. So I think just Mark mentioned it well, and that way we take care of Commissioner Just too.
Well, so wait, to go back in time, getting in my DeLorean and going back to Friday when I talked about this, I said move Warbass houses into 48. I didn't say move 3 of 5. I didn't say move 1 of 5. Warbass houses meant the entirety. And so what we're talking about is a technical mistake, which happens all the time by staff and commissioners, that just needs to be adjusted. But with that mistake comes some extra population going into 48, which is what we would also need to adjust for. So that would be my sort of bridge between the two, between Commissioner Schneps and Commissioner Wurzel.
So if I may, just to, because you blanked for a quick second on a key point. So in what you just said, that if we can find that additional population and the reunification of all of Warbass, and then you would also be supportive of it going into 47 as long as there was a counter?
No, I would like to do what we did originally on Friday, which was actually move the entire thing into 48, which was what was discussed. And
Okay.
the line drawing is where it got misinterpreted. Right. It's
Technical
not
part.
technical. It's a technical issue, yes. But again, there's a domino effect, and that is where it lies the concern right now, is how you can't just make that technical adjustment without some population adjustment happening elsewhere.
Okay, Chairman,
So
before we going to vote, I have a suggestion regarding District 43.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, please. No. Hold on. We're focused on. Hold on 1 second, Judge. We're focused on 47 and 48. Does 43
okay. I finished that. I'm gonna propose.
I just want to add to what was just said about the populations, is that 47 is overpopulated by 0.5% and 48 is overpopulated by 2.2. So we're very close to the upper range of deviation for 48. And so it may actually affect other districts too. It's unless there are contiguous areas that between 47 and 48 where we can switch it, switch the populations.
So before we get to, we still have a motion on the floor. Before we get to any other issues, Grace, you started to say something as far as next steps in this process dealing with the amendment right now.
Yes, this is a kind of a, I would characterize as a technical error in terms of the drawing of the lines. And it seems that there are two alternatives right now before the commission. One is to put the entirety of Warbass houses into 47, or it is to put the entirety of Warbass into 48 and make that slight population adjustment to account for 48 into, the Midwood area. So if you narrow that, the specificity of those, the two options here as part of the motion, and then perhaps the commission can vote on which option to take, and the majority, based on the majority vote of either option, we can, according to the delegation of authority, staff can be authorized to then make that technical adjustment according to the commission's instructions. And if that's the adjustment being made, that's a technical, it's a technical adjustment. We could move forward, with that understanding that staff will make that adjustment before submitting the vote, the plan to council. We can move forward with the vote. Does that?
Josh, since you're the originator of the motion.
Yes, that sounds right. And I just want to be clear, though, I was asking that the Warbass houses go to 47.
Yes.
You were clear.
Okay.
And Josh, can you clarify, this is your only suggested change?
Yeah, unless something has to be brought over, from a numbers perspective. I would like to, see if the Jewish community, if we have to go north, we can go north for 48.
Well, I actually, what
I
I'm
think
saying is what I've recommended is if this is the totality of what you're asking for, that if we're gonna undo something we did on Friday, we might as well look to undo the other portion that occurred as a result of this move of Warbass. Then it impacts directly the last change that we made between 48 and 44, and that was the small Midwood piece. So I guess that's what you mean. You said look north, correct?
Yeah.
So
The north would mean Midwood, commissioners. I'm seeking clarity.
Well, John, for clarity's sake, what I'm suggesting is, and Bryn and Fabian can be of great service and help.
They're on the line. Yes.
Is simply move the section of Midwood that I had suggested be moved from 44 to 48, which had an almost identical population to the section of the Warbass houses that moved from 48 to 47. That's it. Simply undo what we did on Friday so that we achieve the reunification of the Warbass houses in one district.
47.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not the intent. That was not the intent of what was done on Friday.
but
What I'm asking for is to honor the intent of what was done by the folks on that call, by the staff doing the mapping, and make a technical adjustment. What we're doing now is a new change, is a change to a change. And it's not in the spirit of what was done on Friday. And then we go down this rabbit hole of having to do other things that other folks have on their agenda prior to the vote, which I would object to completely.
Moff, before I respond, Moff, you wanted to say?
Yes, because I think the motion that originally Commissioner Josh brought is based on the testimony since then we received. All of those requested that Warbass house be left in 47. And that was, I think, his intent from the beginning. And I think Commissioner Mark Worthel gave the solution to it too, that if we just undo, it will be done. Because then no question comes. I think it is in. So now Mark has to help us in coming to the conclusion.
But I want to pick up. Go ahead, Grace.
I just want to be clear about just to clarify where we are on the public testimony. Warbass houses, we have received a lot of testimony, but it's split. Everyone has different opinions, but the most important takeaway is that they want it to be kept whole. Again, we can't make, as the chairman has said, we can't make everyone happy, and we have received differing, testimonies on where Warbass houses should be. So.
So let me, and then we'll call the question, but let me just add to the point that we had a very extensive conversation on Friday. an exhaustive conversation on Friday. And where we left it on Friday is basically what we presented to you with now the necessary technical adjustment with Warbass, with the definition of Warbass. So I want us to be very clear that we listened. And then if we keep the door always open to the latest round of testimony that comes in, and as Grace indicated, it was split, then we leave ourselves always open to keeping that door there. And I think we've reached that threshold point to submit it to the city council and then having the city council review. And then if they decide to get back to us with specific questions, whether about this or other things, then it is part of our responsibility to do that. And that's just my view, because I think we are always conscious, and we have been very good at the domino effect of one change to another change to another change to another change, and what it means for the entire city. And right now, we have 99% of the city really addressed. And we've been discussing this issue, and depending on who organizes the latest round of public comments is something that we just constantly have to address, and we can't be in that constant position. That's why I think the opportunity of presenting this to the city council is before us to do it. But again, I am conscious and respectful that there is an amendment with a second on the floor, and that the amendment is calling for, and Josh, please correct me if I interpret it incorrectly, or others can do it as well. The amendment is for us not just to reunite Warbass, which we, I think, are in agreement on, but then the movement of the United Warbass to 47 as compared to 48. Is that a proper capturing of the amendment that's been seconded?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so now it's time. No one else has comments. Anyone else have a comment?
Mr. Chair.
If I could, and I echo our general counsel, if you could add a caveat that you will direct the staff and line drawers to carry out that, should this motion go forward, that we carry out that instruction to finish that project.
That's to Josh.
Yeah, is that directed to me?
Yes, Josh.
Sure.
Okay, fine. I heard, was that you, Maria, I heard?
Yeah, that was me.
Yes, Maria.
Well, as regard to my opinion on the amendment, I consent to Josh's motion to unite the Warba houses in District 47. But I also agree with Mark that if we're doing this, we have to return that piece of Midwood that we took from District 48, so we do not dilute that Ukrainian Jewish vote that I also spoke about on Friday. So I think that the solution that Mark proposed is correct. We can unite the Warba houses in 47, but returning that Midwood part to District 48.
Thanks, Maria.
Okay,
And-
Chairman, can I say something?
By all means, yeah.
Yeah, regarding District 43, I received recently so many letters from Asian community.
I'm interrupting you because we still have an amendment on the floor and you're raising a different district. So
You want me to,
7 and 48.
oh, okay. We'll finish with 48. I'm gonna talk about 43. Okay.
Fine. I just want to concentrate on the amendment that's on the floor right now.
Mr. Chair, if I could just interject for a second.
Yes, Joseph.
I just want to let you know that Commissioner Porcher has since joined, so we do have a full slate of all 15 commissioners.
All right. Thank you, sir. Welcome, Commissioner. All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So Grace or someone can you capture the amendment, and that way we can organize a vote around the amendment itself.
Okay, so the motion to amend the maps, technical amendment to the maps, is to reunite Warbass into 47 and then put in more of Midwood into 48. 48. Is that the correct interpretation of the motion?
Yes,
Commissioners? Okay. So that is the technical changes to be made. And if the commissioners vote on this, they also will delegate the staff to have authority to make this technical change.
And Grace, if I could just cut in for a sec, I think it should be, we're gonna restore the small portion of Midwood that we moved from 44 to 48. We're just gonna reverse that. That's the area that matched in terms of almost was a direct population match between the Warbass move and the corresponding move in Midwood.
Correct.
And we won't go looking beyond that. It's just, it's just the reversal of what we did to reunite the Warbass houses in one council district.
And if I may, with that being said, just so all the other commissioners are on the same page, no matter how they decide to vote, with Bryn and Fabian, who are, for the general public listening, are map makers. Does that line up to the conversation that was part of the discussion on Friday?
So you're asking if undoing those changes makes sense? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not asking whether it makes sense. That's offering an opinion. I'm asking, is it a basis of fact as far as what Mark Wurzel just laid out in the undoing of, so people at least know as they delegate the technical responsibility to the staff, what Mark indicated as far as the population adjustment makes sense.
Yeah, so it is, as far as I recall, it is roughly in the portion that was removed from Midwood, roughly 2,500 people that would be going into 48. And that section of the Warbass houses that was indirectly split is roughly 1,900 people that would be going back the other direction to 47.
And that would keep us within a deviation.
I believe so. I haven't made the change. I believe it would. But
We'll work on it. Staff will work with our line
I
drawers and we'll make it happen, Chair.
Yeah, I just want the commissioners to be on the same page as we move forward addressing this discussion. Okay.
I just have, Chair, if I may.
By all means, Commissioner.
Because I'm a little confused. Is this just the technical change that we're talking about that Mike brought to it, the line being drawn that we accidentally split something that wasn't supposed to be split? Is that correct? Yes. That's what we're voting on?
Yes.
This is them taking advantage of a mistake made by staff and the commission on Friday and making a different change than what was originally intended. This is taking advantage of an opportunity over the weekend. This is not the technical change that should have been discussed. This is outside the parameters of a technical adjustment.
What would be the technical adjustment? Because I'm totally confused because it looks like there's three different views. I'm just for clarity purposes.
So on Friday, which many of us were in the Zoom call, I and others supported a move of the entire Warbass houses to 48 from 47. And when the lines were drawn, there was a mistake made separating 3 on the right side from the 2 on the left. What I'm saying is that is a technical adjustment. What's being proposed is a change to the map. And like the chair said, if we go down this road infinitum of making all these substantive changes now, we're never getting this to the council. This should be included in the council's request if the council wants this. I don't think that the council is going to request this. I think this is coming from somewhere else.
Can I ask a informational question?
In all due respect, you've made a lot of changes over the last few weeks and have been one of the louder voices, and a lot of those could be questioned, which they weren't.
Well, Josh, we're all welcome to speak our minds. I just happen to have some opinions on things. I've worked in the city government for 20 years and I sort of know the neighborhoods that I know. And I've kept my mouth shut on a lot of stuff that I don't know about, unlike some other folks here. So it can go both ways.
Folks, the one thing I'll get to you in 1 second. I just want to deal with this one part. we have always been respectful, even when we may not agree with each other around the points that we raise in these discussions. And I still want to maintain that decorum as far as these adjustments that have been made or recommendations that have been made. So that way all the commissioners are on the same page as far as what we're talking about. Monsignor.
Just an informational, factual question. At the moment, Wabash is divided, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. If we were to move it all into 48 without making any other changes, does that throw our deviation off?
It won't violate it, but you will have to make a population adjustment, because when you move that 2,000 approximate population in either direction, it's going to have a domino effect, a very minor domino effect, and it will not violate the deviation or the population ranges we have to stay within.
John,
I'm confused. Either
John, can I cut in, Monsignor?
Yeah.
So what I have suggested as being the complementary part of what Josh has suggested in his amendment, which is to reunite the Warbest houses in District 47, which, if people can recall, on Friday, which seems so very long, such a long time ago, I had initially, objected to, that reuniting the Warbest houses in its entirety into District 47, that the complementary, the parallel change would be to take back the portion of Midwood.
But Mark, that was not my question. My question was.
Well, in order to, I wanted to answer your question. That's being done to keep within the 2.5% deviation. So District 48 is kind of near that deviation now. The move of Warbass back out and the move of the Midwood section back in keeps it within the appropriate
balance. Keep everything balanced.
That's the balance.
Okay, listen. So the answer to my question is the technical change of reuniting Wabash into 48 necessitates additional line movement because it throws it out of the deviation. Am I correct? Now let me ask another question. If you moved it and reunited it technically into 47, would that throw then 47 out of the deviation and additional changes would have to be made? No. And Fabian and Bryn, are you saying that you wouldn't have to make any changes if you just moved it into 47?
If you're to answer your question specifically, to reunite the Warbash houses in 48 necessitates other changes because it would throw 48's population deviation slightly off, as John mentioned.
Okay.
If we reunite it in 47, 47's population deviation would still be within the boundaries we need to have.
Okay.
Yeah, Monsignor, Fabian, thank you. Monsignor, based on the materials that were distributed for the current districts without changes, 47's population
my answer, Mark.
is 173, 741. So there's some room there to raise that population up and still be within the deviation.
Okay.
That budge room wasn't available in 48.
Got it. Thank you.
All righty, folks. Maria, are you still with us? Because I know you have to go to trial.
No, she dropped off.
Okay, we were trying to catch her.
She said she'll be back. She's just
welcome to the judge.
Yeah,
I saw that. All righty. So any other questions from any of the other commissioners?
Okay.
I'd like to hear the resolution reformulated, and I support Monsignor Sullivan's proposal or suggestion.
No. I made no proposal. I just asked for facts.
Okay, but I'd like the commission to consider the alternative of simply moving the houses into 47, and that would cause the least amount of change in the maps.
That's the technical change that started this conversation.
Yeah, that is the amendment on right now.
Okay, that is, and rather than going up and changing the Midwood lines too.
So I want to be clear. Now, who's talking? I don't want to interrupt someone else.
I'm sorry, Chair, it's Commissioner Kirschenbaum. But before we have this vote, and again, I think we're going to have this vote, I just want to also understand if there's anybody else who has concerns about any other districts, that we're now going to start opening up a Pandora's box here. I think Commissioner Wong already said that he has some concerns about another district.
Right.
Can people tell us if there are other districts on the before we vote on this? Because I don't believe that we're at the point that we should be reverting back to work that has been deliberated over and done for a vote today after a long period when we already reopened this. So I'd like to know what other districts people have concerns about before we vote on this, because that's going to be a bit informative of, I think, some people's votes here.
But do we have a motion on the floor? We must consider the first motion first. Cannot have another motion now.
Okay, well then I know how I'm voting. I think that we don't need to be opening up Pandora's box here at this.
Exactly, I support that.
So I hear
just one last point of clarity here. I know the judge mentioned that the easiest change would be to move buildings into 48, but I also heard that there were only 2 buildings that were left in 47, so it'd be easier to just move those, or maybe I'm saying it backwards, but basically it'd be easier to move the 2 buildings that were mistakenly left out,
right,
and just united into 48 rather than, you know, moving 3 out of the 5 buildings into 47.
It's 47, isn't it? No, 48.
you're in 48 and the other 2 buildings are in 48. But so wait. So,
That's why I suggested maybe if we could get a poll on a vote on the 2 options. So 40 moving into 47 with that, you know, Midwood reversal, or putting it into 48. So those 2 options.
But you have a motion on the floor right now from Commissioner Schneps.
Yep.
Can I just
That says 47. Yes, Commissioner Schnepp?
Good.
That's correct.
Let's vote on Josh's proposal.
Yep.
And then if
Yes,
it fails, then we're back to the drawing board. And if it passes, we've passed it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. So
Mr. Chair.
Mark, hold on, Mark. No, hold on one second. Hold on one second. I hear the judge wanted to ask the question, then Mark, and then we're calling the question.
Okay, and I know I think we're getting the districts confused. Isn't it that if we move the 2 houses into 47, we don't have to change anything else? Is that right, Fabian?
I believe it's if we move the 3 houses in 48 to 47, we wouldn't have to change anything else. If we move the 2 houses in 47 to 48, we would make a minor change.
So 1 is no, and then 1 is minor.
And yeah, so 1 is we wouldn't have to change. Not saying we don't. I'm saying we wouldn't have to change anything else to make population deviations. The other one is we would have to make a minor change to meet population deviations.
So, Commissioner Schneps, could you reformulate your motion, perhaps in light of what was said?
Sure. My motion is to move the Warbass houses into 47.
Which, that's the change that necessitates the other change, or doesn't, which?
It does not.
It does not.
Okay, got it.
Wait.
Mark? Go ahead, Mark. You're the last
Well,
one.
again, it's a trade. We do one and the other. You know, I thought that we had agreed that if we move the Warbass houses into 47, that we would also do the secondary move that we made on Friday, which is to restore a portion of Midwood back into 48. From 44, from that was moved from 48 to 44, we would just simply reverse that.
That's right. That's correct.
But that's not the motion.
But that wasn't the motion, Josh.
that-
Josh, your motion. Come on.
First of all,
folks.
that's exactly what Mark said is exactly how it started. That's exactly how it started, the
I didn't
motion.
hear you talk about 44 before.
Yeah, no, but Mr. Chair, we on Friday, we moved the portion of the Warbest houses, we moved from 47 to 48. And then because 48 was then overpopulated, we then brought them back to the variance by just slicing off a portion of Midwood to add it to 44. What we're doing is essentially reuniting Warbass to 47, and at the same time, reuniting this portion of 44, this portion of 44 that was added at the same time to meet population, we're putting that back in 48. That's the complementary.
That's correct.
And
I'm on the same page. That's correct.
That's the resolution. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would call the question, I would move a vote for the pending resolution before us.
Okay. Motion and second. All right, who's going to call the roll as it is being identified?
But in that case, will the deviation will change?
What, Mark?
If that happen, will the deviation will change or it will no change?
So again, I think inferred in what we've talked about, if not said directly, we would have staff do the type of technical adjustments and making sure we stay within the deviation. But again, it goes back to Commissioner Schnall's point. He has raised objection in that this goes beyond the conversation of the technical part, because what is one is doing is making a change that was agreed upon from 47 to 48, now back 48 to 47, and taking advantage of the lines that were not included around all of the Warbass houses. So I just want people to be aware of what they are voting on. But then if the vote doesn't pass, then we haven't passed the amendment, and then we just proceed from there. That's how I interpret what we're discussing and will be voting on right now.
Dennis, can I ask a factual question
Of course, Monsignor.
with regard to deviation? I understand the motion. The motion is to move Wabash and to reverse or restore the Midwood. If we moved Wabash, are we forced to make another change because we're out of deviation, or are we doing it for another purpose?
We don't have to make the move. That's what it's, the technical move is, and I'm jumping in because it's kind of like frustrating.
Right.
If we just do the technical, we don't have to do any more changes.
Got it.
That's what I'm understanding, but we can if we wanted to.
Right.
But I'm just addressing as a commissioner, the technical change, which was an error.
Right. Thank you.
That's the one. Okay. That kind of sends where my vote is going.
Okay. Joseph, Grace, who's?
I could do the roll call for the vote. Okay, so doing the roll call for the vote on the proposed amendment. Chair Dennis Walcott.
On the amendment, I vote no.
Yvonne Collado.
No.
Marilyn Go.
No.
Kevin Hanratty.
Yes.
Commissioner Mateo. Maria Mateo. I'll swing back around. She might be back on. Joshua Schneps,
Yes.
Lisa Soren,
No.
Kevin Sullivan,
Abstain.
Kai-Ki Wong,
Yes.
Maf Uden,
No.
Michael Schnall,
No.
Kristen Johnson,
No.
Gregory Kirschenbaum,
No.
Mark Warzel,
Yes.
Darren Porcher,
Yes. Yes.
and just to see Commissioner Maria Mateo. Okay, so that is the end of the roll call for the vote. And with that,
So that's,
8 noes. Yeah, sorry, Grace. That's 8 noes, 4 yeses. Sorry, 3. Yes, 4 yeses and 1 abstention.
I bring the motion to approve the original plan that we approved on Friday to submit to the city council.
Nice.
Second.
Second. Call the roll.
Dennis Walcott.
wait,
Yes.
so,
Wait,
sorry.
yeah.
So is this a motion, sorry, is this a motion to vote on the plan as it is right now then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll call that, or Chair, would you like to call the vote or should I call the vote?
Call
I
the
can
vote.
leave- Okay. Monsignor Sullivan,
Yes.
Kristen Johnson,
Yes.
Maria Mateo. Yovan Collado,
Yes.
Judge Marilyn Go.
I vote yes, and I just want to ask the commissioners to bear with me, but I do feel redistricting is such an important right of the citizens, and I thank everybody for participating in this process, including the chair, the commissioners, and the staff, as well as the public in this process. And let me just emphasize that redistricting stems from the concept of political equality, and as recognized by the Supreme Court, is evidence from the earliest days of our nationhood in the Declaration of Independence, in the Gettysburg Address, to the 15th, 17th, and 19th Amendments. And as the Supreme Court said, these constitutional provisions and documents can mean only one thing: one person, one vote. And because of the constraints we've faced, we've had to deal with a lot. But it does show that if one line gets moved, many others are connected, and it demonstrates how we're also connected. So the Districting Commission has tried to pursue this road to political equality by making it a more open process. We've tried to be upfront with each other. We've been open to hear comments from the public. But to paraphrase Abe Lincoln, we can't please all of the people all of the time with all of the lines. So for those of you who have not gotten the lines you would like to see, I would want to thank you for your comments and urge you to continue raising your voices to let your government know your views. But while the lines themselves are important in elections, we should celebrate the fact that we live in an open society, and we can cross district lines to visit community centers, temples, and friends, unlike other countries where internal borders can restrict lives. But I feel very strongly it's time to pass the maps on to the City Council for consideration. So definitely, I vote yes.
Okay. Commissioner Gregory Kirschenbaum,
Yes.
Maf Misbah-Udin,
Yes, and it because I think my commissioners, chair, and our staff and the leadership of Dr. Plato has done what we are ordained to do, and we have done that, we have delivered. Now the rest depends on the city council, whether we have a job or not. Thank you very much. I vote yes.
thank you. Commissioner Lisa Soren,
I vote yes, and I'd like to put a little asterisk to say that ideally I would have liked to seen that technical issue resolved without changing any lines. but since we couldn't agree to that one, but it's an absolute yes, turn it to city council. And I look forward to hearing back what they have to say, and proud to have worked with absolutely all of you. This has been an amazing, amazing journey.
Okay. Chair Walcott,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanratty, Kevin Hanratty.
Yes, and I'd just like to say it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you. I'd like to thank Dr. Flateau and all his staff, Chairman Walcott, and the rest of my commissioners, fellow commissioners, and all the public for their comments and participating. I vote yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Porcher, Darren Porcher.
I vote yes, and I affirm with my other co-commissioners. It was a pleasure working with everyone on this significant piece to move forth in the city.
Commissioner Mark Warzel.
Mr. Chair, may I be excused to explain my vote?
By all means, we have never stopped conversation before.
I guess I'm the last here, so I get to
No, you're not.
close this out.
You're not, not the last. You're not the last.
Oh, okay. First, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chair, for being an able air traffic controller and kindergarten cop through this process. I'd like to thank the staff for their hard work and patience. I have to again mention our mappers, Bryn and Fabian from Redistricting Partners, for putting up with us. And I want to again thank the general public and the stakeholders who actively participated in this process. I am going to vote yes to advance this plan to the City Council. I am satisfied that this represents the best document that we can present to the council. It is not perfect. It's far from perfect, but I am satisfied with the work product, and I'm happy to lend my name to it. If the council, when they receive it, they're not satisfied, they can object, and they can detail their objections to the commission, and we can reconvene and review them and decide whether or not they're worthy of review and change. I came to the conclusion after I thought we concluded our mapping session on Friday afternoon, that we just couldn't solve each and every issue that came up in this process. And if people are upset, don't direct your ire at us. Look at the governor and look at the legislature, who adopted a poorly worded law in October that severely limited this commission's ability to keep as many communities of interest together. That mess in South Brooklyn resulted most apparently there because of this change in the state law. The legislature, think about it, the legislature overruled the voters of the city of New York, the people who adopted changes in the charter, and then they imposed their own standards. This was legislation that sat in a circular file cabinet in Albany for 20 years. 20 years. It sliced in half our ability to use a variance of 10% to 5%. And that's what's responsible for all the time, all the hand-wringing, all the issues and problems that have confronted this commission. But given the tools that we were given, I think we've done the best that we can. And I am pleased to support this map and to forward it to the City Council for their review and comments. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the commissioners, and thank the commissioners' families and their employers for allowing us to invest all this time and effort into this process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Grace?
Yes, Commissioner Joshua Schnaps.
I wrote a 20-minute speech, but I'm not going to give it. Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Commissioner Michael Schnall.
Same here as Josh. First, I want to apologize to Josh or anyone else that I offended or allowed my emotions to get ahead of sort of my brains here. But I want to thank the chair. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the staff, and especially all of our families for the patience that they've had with us over this time. Now, I would be remiss in not alluding to the great season of baseball that's upon us. And so as the great New York Mets catcher Yogi Berra once said, this feels like deja vu all over again. And I'm glad that we're here. I'm so glad that this draft map is going to go to the council for their feedback. It's really what we've needed. But I will probably be the lone vote no on this, purely based on my longstanding support to keep Staten Island whole and oppose the attachment of the Brooklyn appendage to Council District 50. There are no other reasons why I oppose these maps. I'm glad they're going to pass, and we're going to get that much needed feedback from the New York City Council. Thank you again. Really looking forward to continuing our work if that is what happens next. And thank you, Chair Walcott, for allowing me to explain my vote.
Thank you, Commissioner. Grace?
Commissioner Wong?
I vote, I vote for yes.
Okay, and last, just checking if Commissioner Mateo is on the line. Okay, so a vote of 13 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent. The motion passes.
Thank you, Grace. Let me take this opportunity to thank.
Mr. Chair, can I interject for some? Is there any way that we can keep this vote open? Because I would think that Maria would want to cast the vote if she is able to. So I don't know if there's a clock we can put on this. It certainly has adopted. This motion has been adopted overwhelmingly, but to sort of keep things open for her to, possibly come back in before the end of our meeting wraps up to cast the vote.
So 2 things. 1, I would always check with council. 2, we're about to wrap up the meeting. So if Maria should jump in before we officially adjourn. Then
business.
But again, I know she's in court, and he told me that she had to be off, and I know she may try to get back in, but I can only stretch this back so long. It's 12:17 unless we want to go to midnight tonight like in the past.
Close the business.
Well, we need to submit the plan to council once the meeting has to be officially adjourned, which means the vote needs to be concluded because we need to then move forward with the transmittal to city council. So
let me do this, if I may. Let me do one thing that is unorthodox, and at times we've been unorthodox. So let me see if a call can be placed. Obviously, Commissioner Mateo cannot answer the phone, but on the off he does, and then we will try to get her to include her in this vote since we are all here. So if the commissioners are comfortable with that, I would ask someone on our team to reach out to Mateo's cell phone to see if that's possible, and then we'll wait to see what happens with that, and then we'll do the adjournment. That's okay. Is that agreed?
Yes.
Agreed. And Mr. Chair, if I could just add, if we're unable to reach her and she's unable to come to the phone and vote, then I would just ask if there's some consideration that when the minutes are prepared for this meeting, that it might reflect once Commissioner Mateo is available, that she might be able to express herself, although not in a vote. Just some reference to the fact that she was detained with business and could not cast a vote, but this is how she would have voted. This is how she would have either supported or not supported the plan, but at least give her an opportunity to go on the record in it and, let her opinions be expressed and reflected in the minutes.
We will see what's legally permissible and allow us to do that. So we're always looking to see what's the best way to make sure all of our voices are heard, but also stay within the appropriate legal framework of what we can do. Is someone from the team reaching out to the commissioner?
Yes.
I already called her. She didn't answer. She texted me back saying she's unavailable to speak.
Okay. So if Grace, is it allowable by text if she would opine, or are we really pushing the limit right now? Since she did text.
We can certainly put in a statement. If she wants to submit a statement, we can certainly have that
Right,
statement.
one
No.
more way of doing this,
Yeah.
you know, as inclusive as possible. So Joseph, can you just follow up with the text to see if she would opine and let her know what the vote is so she doesn't feel totally blindsided at this point?
Doing that now.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I'm looking over the Robert's Rules of Order, and I don't, see any procedure to permit a subsequent vote, but perhaps what we could do is move to leave the record open for her to submit a statement.
And Judge Go, that's exactly what I was suggesting, that
Okay, I wasn't
we
sure.
cast our vote, we adjourn this meeting, and that when the minutes are prepared, Grace, I don't know if that's left to you, that there's some reference that Commissioner Mateo, who was unavailable, is notified us of what her opinion was in regards to the to this resolution. It wasn't a vote, but it was still just an expression of her opinion after the meeting had adjourned.
That would be the next step, depending on if and when Joseph hears anything in the next minute or so, a couple of minutes. We can do that.
I misunderstood, Mark. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That's why we always clarify as part of this body, to make sure there's that open understanding and clarification. Joseph, nothing?
Nothing yet.
All righty. I hate to do it, but we need to, because we can only stretch this for so long. And again, most of you are lawyers, so you know how it is in court. So I don't want to be presumptuous and disturb her when she's in the middle of an important trial. So let me close by saying the next steps. Once the plan has been delivered to the City Council, the Commission will take no further action. Folks, wait for it. Wait for it. We're off for 3 weeks at least. So
I do have one slight addition. Does the besides the plans, do we submit any sort of document to the council? Because there were a couple places in the course of mapping sessions where we thought we'd make just certain comments. And certainly this meeting has raised a possible area of comment, which was the unification of the Wabash houses. And secondly, I believe it was the drawing of the Manhattan district, where the district line crossed a certain housing development between Manhattan and the Bronx. And I do think it would be useful to point out at least that item, because that's a problem that will be confronted by future districting commissions.
John, and let me just finish off this point, then we can respond to the judge's question as far as John and or Grace, what gets submitted. But then the plan will be in the hands of the City Council to determine whether they will object to this revised plan. If a resolution objecting to the plan is passed within the next 3 weeks, then the Commission will prepare a revised plan and make it available to the Council and the public for comment, including public hearings. In the meantime, the Commission's work is on hold. And with that being said, John and or Grace, to the judge's point.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, we have a formal transmittal letter on behalf of the commission signed by the chair to the council at this point. And if the process is open going forward, the commission itself, it would seem, has the ability to address those issues that might be flagged by the council and by the commissioners going forward. Grace?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Thank you, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, one more quality control check. Judge Joseph?
Still nothing.
All righty. With that being said, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? Motion?
Second,
Second.
Are there
I
any?
third the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Let me just go the reverse way. Any objections to adjourning? If
Oh,
there
there is no
aren't any
discussion.
objections, all those approved, say aye.
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 Thank all of you. Have a great
Aye.
day. and Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
Let's
Thank
go
you
Mets.
everyone.
Bye, folks.
Go Mets.
Peace.
Have a good run, Dennis.
Enjoy the next 3 weeks, if not more.
Thank you, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yankees.